Peter Parker will not die in Marvel's Spider-Man 3. Now, there have been plenty of reasons for fans of his to worry lately, between Insomniac stating that Miles Morales will be the main Spider-Man going forward in this timeline that they have created, as well as the ending of the game suggesting that Peter Parker wants to take a break from all the responsibilities and the heavy pressure that's been put on him as being Spider-Man over the past few years by himself, and wants to just focus more on being a family man with MJ and healing the world like his buddy Harry wanted to, in a different way, in a more practical way, through science, through the Heavenly May Foundation. And Miles essentially tells Peter that it's okay, you can do all of those things. You have another Spider-Man here in New York, and I will be that Spider-Man. I will carry that burden, and the city has nothing to worry about. You have nothing to worry about, because I, Miles Morales, am here, and I'm Spider-Man. So, all those reasons, included with the fact that the character of Miles Morales was created with the intention that Peter Parker always has to die. Peter Parker plays the mentor role for Miles Morales, and then Peter dies. That's just the way things go in the comics. That's just the way things go in the Spider-Verse movie. That's just the way things have always been. So you have a good reason. You have plenty of reasons to worry about Peter Parker's fate, and will he die or not in Spider-Man 3. But I'm here to quell all those fears for you. Fear not, your friendly neighborhood millennial media is here to tell you why you are going to feel absolutely silly for even worrying about this. First off, I think we need to take a look at the history of Insomniac and the Spider-Man games that they've put. So far, we've gotten Marvel's Spider-Man, Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Now, in all of these games, the creative team behind this game and the writers have done something completely unique, and they've added a new flavor and a new spice to every story that we've seen in the comic books throughout Marvel's, many long years history. Starting with Spider-Man 2018, Aunt May is killed at the end of the first game. You realize that was a big swing that they took. Not a lot of people saw it coming, because usually Aunt May's death is reserved for, the end of an arc of Peter, right? Well, this arc was barely getting started. That's the first game. So that is a massive swing that they took, and that is a different direction they decided to go in immediately off the bat. Something else that they did differently in the first game was that they had the introduction of a brand new villain and gave him a very heavy focus onto the story and the main storyline and the impact that he had on both Peter Parker and Miles Morales in the character of Martin Lee, Mr. Negative. That is a character that has never ever seen the spotlight in the grand scope of Marvel and the big picture of pop culture, right? With the MCU and even comic books and games. Mr. Negative is not a character that people are very familiar with. Well, at least they weren't until Insomniac made him relevant. So those are two different things right there. And then, of course, there's Miles Morales. One of the biggest changes in Miles Morales was the gender swapping of Phineas Mason, because usually this is a white male character, but of course in the game it is a black woman, a young black woman who is Miles Morales' one of his closest friends, and this creates a very personal rift between the two with their different ideologies and how they should go about, doing things. And it creates a very, again, a very personal fight between the two. And when Finn's death occurs, it really impacts Miles and really sets the tone for how he's going to view the world and view people like Martin Lee going forward in the sequel with Spider-Man 2. So that is a major change already. And in Spider-Man 3, or in Spider-Man 2, another huge change that we see is that Miles isn't really the mentoree anymore, right? He's not the mentoree. Peter Parker is slowly drifting away from being the mentor, but I believe that they're setting this up to where there's just going to be two Spider-Mans. This dynamic in the Insomniac Spider-Man universe is very different from the Peter Parker and Miles Morales dynamic that we've seen in the comics and we've seen in the Spider-Verse movies, where Peter Parker and Miles Morales in this universe are more like companions to one another. They're peers, they're equals. And I feel like this is something that only Insomniac has done and only Insomniac could do. As they've proven, they always want to go the route that is different. They always want to do something that has not been done before. And with the Marvel comics and with the Spider-Verse movies with the character of Miles Morales, what has always happened? Peter Parker always has to die. Well, Insomniac is not in the business of doing business as usual. What Insomniac likes to do is use the comic books as inspiration to tell their own unique stories, to put their own Insomniac and Sony and PlayStation Studios spin on Spider-Man. And I believe that, with Spider-Man 3, there's so much more room to tell Peter Parker stories. And that's exactly what they're going to do. Sure, Peter Parker may not be the main Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3 to start, but by the end, I really do believe that with the introduction of Green Goblin, Norman Osborn finally turning into the Goblin by testing the serum on himself, and of course, with the post-credit scene with Otto Octavia suggesting that, they might team up together, form an unlikely alliance as old friends turned bitter rivals to take out Peter Parker and potentially even Miles Morales as another Spider-Man, because right now they currently don't know they don't know who Miles Morales is. They know, at least Otto knows who Peter Parker is as Spider-Man, but Norman knows who neither of them are, and I'm assuming they might find out that Miles Morales is also a Spider-Man, and this is going to cause Miles Morales to call upon Peter Parker to bring out Spider-Man again, and this is where we will have Spider-Man, help out Miles Morales throughout the main storyline, and realize by the end, potentially with the death of a Mary Jane Watson at the hands of Green Goblin, to potentially realize that, okay, yeah, I can't just retire, I can't just go away. The city does need me to be Spider-Man as well. I do have to be responsible as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And again, where we find out with, that bleeds into the themes of Spider-Man 2, where it's all about responsibility for Peter Parker. That's always been the tried and true theme with Peter Parker, is with Uncle Ben and even Aunt May in this game, is it's balancing your life, balancing responsibilities. And I think what Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2 wants by the end is that he just wants to be Peter Parker and live up to those responsibilities. But I think what Spider-Man 3 is going to end up being about is him finding the true balance and understanding that he cannot put Spider-Man away. He needs to be Peter Parker and be responsible and a good person as Peter Parker, but also be responsible and be a good Spider-Man to the city. And I believe that, ultimately that calls for Peter Parker to still be around, to still be a Spider-Man, to be there for Miles Morales, to be a companion towards him, and to be there for the city. And I believe that with, in doing so, you can't kill Peter Parker off. And I don't believe that Insomniac will. And I truly do believe that, while Miles Morales may ultimately become the main Spider-Man, I don't think that means that Peter Parker Spider-Man will simply cease to exist, will be no more, will be dead. I don't believe that. I don't buy that. I can't see that happening. I especially can't see that happening with, the response that Sony got with the death of Joel in The Last of Us 2. I truly cannot see a direction where Insomniac decides Peter Parker has no purpose to serve anymore in this universe going forward. So, with that, I do believe that Peter Parker will survive Spider-Man 3. He will not be killed off anytime soon. And I believe that we'll be getting much more Peter Parker in the years to come through the Insomniac universe. Maybe not as a main character, but certainly there as a companion and as a side character. But that's been it from Millennial Media. And if you enjoyed this video and want to stay up to date and see more in terms of video game and movie news and opinions, well, you're in the right place, and I hope you consider subscribing to the channel, because I would love to have you along for the ride. But until next time, this has been Millennial Media, and I will see you all very soon.